Okay, so don't delete anything. Make sure you put that device and any device it's connected to, because all our devices are interconnected these days, into airplane mode. That preserves every bit of evidence. Put it into airplane mode, because then what happens is that's a bad guy. I can't send a digital message across to take everything off that phone. All right? I want to make sure that we call the police and we get the police out there, because the police can image that phone. They can image all your devices. Don't worry, they're not looking at anything else. They're just trying to find the bad guy. They're going to image all your devices, which means they're going to copy everything on there. That's going to preserve all that evidence, and they're going to go after this person. Go ahead.
That happens to your phone when you put it in airplane mode. They can't send messages, and you can't send messages out.
Right. So with many phones, if you put it in all phones, if you put it in airplane mode, what happens is I can't send a message out to that phone to actually access it and delete everything that's in there. Because if that phone's not in airplane mode, I can actually take over that phone, and I could actually, if I'm the bad guy, I can take over that phone and I can delete everything out of there. Right. Now, in order to delete it out of there, though, I'm not going to delete it. Like, we think when things are deleted, they're erased, they're gone. They just go into cache. In order for me to truly delete something, I have to overwrite it. So if I send a message out to overwrite it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to overwrite it with a bunch of garbage. You know, a lot of Rick Ashley songs is what I'm going to put on there. Never going to give you up, never going to... I'm going to put a lot of music videos on there, but that's what hackers do. Go ahead.
So for safety purposes, we should just always keep our phone on airplane mode?
If you want to make phone calls and use your phone, you can't have it in airplane mode. I'm saying in airplane mode, what happens is you put it in airplane mode, nothing comes in, nothing goes out, and it's just you who only has access to what goes on, what's already loaded on the hard drive on that phone. What that does is, for when you're going in a law enforcement situation, is nothing goes in, nothing comes out. That preserves the evidence. Law enforcement comes in, they image that phone, which means they copy everything that's on that phone. And then they're going to be like, here's your phone back. We've got everything that's on here. They're going to go after the bad guy. Okay? And they're going to treat the person who's been victimized as a victim. They do that. SVU guys are great about this.
So is that actually what you're doing, is filing a report with the police?
File a report with the police. But before you even call, put your phones in airplane mode and anything they're connected to. So we all have Apple devices and Google devices, and we have Android devices. Our devices talk to other devices.
So if they're synced up, like we have an iPad, we have an iPhone.
All of them go into airplane mode. Everything goes into airplane mode. Call the police. Call the police. Now, mind you, you have to use somebody else's phone to call the police. But call the police, get the police out there. Let the police come in and image everything on that phone. Which all that image means is they're going to copy everything on that phone. And then they're going to go after the bad guy. And then you can go back to your life. That's when parents can get in with your child and delete all the bad stuff. But the police already have it. So, but the other thing is communication's key. There's lots of free resources out there. We have an organization here in town called Next Talk. Next Talk will come out and talk to your teens. They will talk to your teen group. They will talk all about online safety to parents and teens. They've written books about this. They have a radio show about this. They're here in San Antonio. Then there's the National Center for Missing Exploited Children. You have organizations. They have things like Kids Smart and Net Smart Kids. Literally hours and hours and hours of videos that are free and hours of online games that are free on the National Center for Missing Exploited Children through their Net Smart Kids programming. And they have everything from Clicky the Robot for the itty-bitties all the way to stuff that's kind of like Nickelodeon Teen and Disney XL and all this other stuff. They have all, and it's age appropriate, and it doesn't take away their innocence, but it teaches them online safety and online etiquette, ways to protect your children. And parents, I recommend you sit down and do this stuff with your kids. I did it. It was fun. And we get to learn with them. Not only that, I would sit down with my girls and go, hey, my girls are adults now, but I'd be like, every time a new app came out, I'd be like, hey, I heard about this new app. Can you show me how it works? Is it on your phone? And they'd be like, yeah. No, they pull out their phone. It's right here. This is how you do this and all that. I got to see everything that was on their phone. They were showing it to me. And they were showing me how they used the thing. That was gold. Gold. Real simple ways to protect your children. The other thing you could do is, all parents, and we actually sent you out some information about online. Stephanie, yes? We're going to send you out some information about codes and emojis and all that other stuff. You're going to get a whole list of things I put together to tell you all the secret codes and emojis and all that other stuff. It's going to come to you electronically if you sign in. So you can get on there, and one of the things you can do to find these secret apps and all this other stuff that kids hide on there is, everyone knows where your app store is, whether it's Google Play or iTunes. Go to your app store, do an app search, type in the word secret. Just type the word secret. When you type the word secret, all the secret applications that hide stuff will pop up. They should all say get. If they say open, they're already on the device. So if something says secret picture, secret calculator, secret hidden text, and it says open, it's already on the device. If it says get, it's not on the device. Same thing with Google Play, word secret. You can also type in the word hidden. Use the word hidden or secret, and that'll tell you whether or not that device already has something on there. It's another way for you to check your children's devices or your spouse's. So these ads have actually come to a sock puppet that we utilize. These are actual ads here in San Antonio that have come to a sock puppet we utilize. So Jelvo's job offers, and he's saying that you can get a $2,000 bonus or with a bonus of over $600, and this is what you can make weekly working part-time with him. Sending this out to what he believes to be a young woman here in San Antonio. All right? Wants models. They'll post stuff on walls. They'll even put it up at the gas station. That's a part-time job making, what was it, $1,500, I think? No, $3,500 to $4,500 working part-time a week. I am obviously in the wrong profession. 10-4. So these things will be up all over the place. That's one way that they recruit, not just online. They use other people they've exploited to recruit. Remember I talked about folks that they say you want this to stop, you're going to have to bring me your friends? That's another way they do it. So when you have youth you work with, or even adults you work with, and they talk about their friend that's inviting them to this party with the new boyfriend or girlfriend who's going to hook them up with everything they need, oh no, I was homeless before and I had nowhere to live and everything was destitute and you were helping me, but the next day they're like, oh no, my girl gonna hook me up, we're gonna go to this party, this guy's gonna give me a... It sounds too good to be true, it is. They'll go anywhere that people can be, malls, bars, and even in schools. And kids that are being exploited go to school with our kids. And they share classes and gyms and locker and everything else. So in this world, they do have a hierarchy and they have a whole system. They even have rule books, they have guides, they have instruction manuals. They call it the game, they call themselves as players, they refer to somebody who's being exploited as being in the life. They have a hierarchy. You have the trafficker, we used to call them pimps. You have underneath them the bottom girl or bottom boy. That's the person that they victimize for the longest, which they feel as though they have most trust with, and that's the person they're using to recruit. And then you have the other girls or boys. And this happens to both girls and boys. In particular for Bexar County, I work at Centro Seguro, which is Roy Maas Youth Alternatives Drop-In Center, one of the main places I work. We serve youth between the ages of 5 to 24 years old. We are open 7 days a week, 365 days a year. We are a drop-in center, a true drop-in center. We have cots. We don't have beds because we triage youth. We get them in, we get them out. We see what scenario they're in. We get them the help that they need. What we find overall is we do the See It tool, which is an assessment tool for trafficking on every single child that comes through the door. We found that 70% of the youth that we served, and we served over 300 youth last year in Bexar County, over 70% of them were Bexar County youth. We found that almost 70% came as clear concern for trafficking. There's 4 levels. No concern, possible concern, clear concern, or confirmed. Over 70% had clear concern for trafficking, and 48% of that 70% were boys. What age? 11 to 24. Doesn't matter. Everybody's But when you have over half of our clear concerns for trafficking are boys, we reported that to the governor's office, we took the air out of the room. Because nobody's doing anything for the boys, and the boys are being targeted. Oh, and they're not just being targeted by middle-aged guys. Nowadays, they're being targeted by women. You have women that are buying sex. You have men that are buying sex. You have women that are buying sex with boys and girls. You got men that are buying sex with boys and girls. And don't even get me started on the swingers clubs we have here in San Antonio. We have couples that are married that are swingers, and they'll take their intended victim to the swingers clubs. There's one right off of Parambital. They'll take them there to be exploited. And they have swinger parties where they sell their intended victims. So traffickers, pimps, they can look like anybody. They can be pastors, they can be police officers, they can be firefighters, they can be doctors or lawyers. We've had a big case of a lawyer that was a trafficker here in San Antonio. We've had a case of police officers that were trafficking here in San Antonio. Judges, doesn't matter. Matter of fact, I know in particular one case of a friend of mine who's an adult now, but her first set of traffickers was a couple, and he was a doctor. And they lived up there in Stone Oak. So it usually starts out with the Romeo phase. Romeo phase is where the pretender and promiser kicks in. Because I'm not just going to walk up to somebody and say, excuse me, you're going to come work for me. I'm going to sell you 5 or 6 times a night to do things with people. And you're going to give me all your money. Are you good with that? Like any rational human being, right? Okay? That's not how it works. However, I'm going to pretend to care. I'm going to pretend to promise. I'm going to use a system of enticement, of fractionization seduction to separate you out from your normal support structures. I'm going to poison the well of communications between you and your support structures. I'm going to make you totally interdependent, even codependent on me. And I'm going to use this system to fractionize and seduce you, and I'm going to replace your personality with the personality of the person I want you to be. And I'm going to use push-pull process to do that. Go ahead.
I was just wondering, this is such a diminished thing to do. These people that do it, whether lawyers, judges, anybody, have they themselves been trafficked or
Some have.
or their personality disorders or no conscience or what?
No, they like money.
They like money.
They like money.
Money's their God.
Money is their goal, their God, their everything, everything. And that's the thing, is that a lot of these folks, they believe it's money. And, you know, you get folks that have been trafficked, and they say, well, this happened to me, so, you know, they blame everything, right, and the system, and they blame everybody and everything. And there's a certain amount of blame that can go that way. And there's others that just have any reason to blame different things. So one of the things is one of the things we haven't talked about yet, and that's one thing I believe, is we have to look at the trafficker and what happened to them. Why are they in that situation? And do we offer services to work with the trafficker? Because you save one trafficker, you've saved 140 girls, 140 boys. So, yeah. But yeah, there's things wrong. So they promise them the world, they promise them everything. This is the boyfriend pimp, the girlfriend pimp. The girl that says, yeah, I know I'm 30 and I got 2 kids, but you know, you're a hot-looking guy. Yeah, you're 14. You can come live with me, you can stay with me, you ran away from home. They have sex a few times. She hasn't taken care of her kids. Then every time she goes out, she brings all her girlfriend's kids over. Then she says, hey, you're going to go clean my friend's house. You're going to hang out with them. Occasionally they have sex still, right? Till eventually he's running like a daycare out of the apartment. Like literally he's got 16 kids in there. And then this kid called CPS himself, and he called SAPD himself and said, come get me. And when we went and picked him up, he was like, I am never having kids. What's that operation you get to not have kids? Take me back to foster care. I am never having kids. A real story happened here. Okay? That trafficker was a girl, 30-year-old woman. Anyone can be a victim. Anyone can be a trafficker. So, eventually, daddy, provider and protector. However, he provides everything: food, shelter, clothing, love, attention, purpose. It's all about making daddy happy at this point. Why do they use the term daddy? Anyone know?
Because these are kids in foster care that don't have a parent.
Not necessarily, but what's that? Not necessarily. What's that? Because they want to replace all other support structures they have, so they take on the name of a typical support structure, daddy. That name in society, in our society, means safety, needs protection, because anyone who's a dad knows that when you're daddy, your number one job in the world is to protect and provide for your child. All other things are secondary to protecting and providing for your child. I have two. That was my mission. The last one just got married. I'm done. So daddy takes on that ideal because this person's already separated them out. And it works things like this. They start their grooming process. It may start with texting, and it's going to be like sending out constant texts. And the kid comes back and he says, why didn't you answer my text right away? Well, I was doing chores. I was hanging out with my mom. I was talking to my parents. Well, obviously your parents and your chores and their rules are more important than I am. We can't be friends anymore. We can't talk anymore. Oh, no. Who's more important, your family or me? Because just like in domestic violence, they're going to drive a wedge right down the middle of this child and any one of their support structures. Not just children, but adults too. Because when I say youth, I mean anyone under the age of 24. I mean anyone under the age of 24 because of the fact that they're highly susceptible to that age range. But this has happened to adult women. I have friends that are adult women that this has happened to. I have adult men that have been exploited. And this has happened to. It doesn't matter, but I want to drive a wedge as the bad guy between you and all your support structures, because the choice between being loved by no one or loved by a monster, which do you choose? You want someone to love you. So eventually the mask is going to come off and the gorilla is going to come out. These are real street terms. The gorilla is going to come out. Gorilla is the punisher. That's why the trafficker goes into punishment phase. That's the gorilla. He's going to switch back and forth between gorilla and daddy, he or she. Right? Back and forth, between protector, provider, and punisher. Back and forth. And how do they do this? They first off make this person property. They put the mark on them. That mark that the trafficker puts on them identifies them as property. You are no longer yourself, you belong to me. My mark is on you. That mark tells you that you belong to the trafficker, mind, body, and soul. If anybody else wants to access you, they have to go through the trafficker, to include other traffickers, and pay for you. This is where they pay for people. So I've had young survivors I've worked with who were being worked in San Antonio, sold to someone who took them to Houston, sold to someone who took them to Dallas, sold to someone who took them to Washington State, sold to someone who took her to California, where she was sold in Beverly Hills at age 14 as a baby doll. And she talked about the mansion she went to and the things that happened to her before we finally recovered her with the FBI in San Diego. Multiples. And as a matter of fact, she's up here. 4 of these pictures are her.